Welcome to the People by People podcast with me, your host, Laura Sutherland. And may I first start off with saying a huge sorry for ignoring you for the last couple of months and for not coming to you with some more fantastic content. I have been knee deep in work and also just trying to prioritise what I'm doing in daily life. I think everyone's had a bit of a rethink of work-life balance over the last couple of years, and also it's given me an opportunity to think, actually, I've probably been doing too much work. I've also been doing too much extracurricular stuff like blogging, podcasting and volunteering. So I've managed to rein it in a little bit and started to really sort of prioritise what I want to do. And with that, I have been doing some really amazing work over the last year with a number of clients in specific areas around stakeholder relations, ESG, and really looking at making communication work for organisations internally and externally. And that's involved a lot of audits, mapping, consultations and research with stakeholders, and bringing together strategies that really count and that are basically supported by the data found through research. So it's been a really great time. I'm coming to a sort of point where in the next couple of weeks I'll be tailing off some of my projects and I'm looking to take on some new work. Whether that's super chunky or if it's just been to sort of bite-sized projects, I don't know. If you want to get in touch with me, I'd be happy to have a chat with you. But 2022 so far, so basically we're coming up to the end of quarter one, has been a good quarter. I think that we've seen quite a lot since the end of last year around consumer changing. We were just talking this morning at the PRC's Misinformation and Climate Strategy group around the fact that it's a shame that COP took place in November and there was so much conversation around it. All the brands and all the organisations were running around trying to hold events at it and to ride in its coattails, whereas actually now it's just kind of flailed off. And although some governments have committed and there's some plans in place, there's not a lot of activity and there's not a lot of discussion around it. And the important thing is obviously the activity and the action that's been taken. So that's something that we're talking about in the group just now, and we're making some plans for further research and further activity to support the public relations and communication industry professionals who are involved and who need educated around their responsibilities. But coming up in 2022, most of you have been obviously aware of my running of founding PRFest, which this year would have been its 8th year. Every month I run PRsUnite with the PRFest community, and it's just an opportunity to hang out, catch up, ask questions. And normally we have pretty intellectually stimulating conversations. And yeah, they just kind of come out of nowhere. So it's a sort of natural progression, which I love conversations like that. But as well as doing that, I've decided not to go ahead with doing PRFest as a physical or a virtual event this year. I don't feel that the virtual events did PRFest justice. PRFest is a very unique event, and it has a real special feeling about it. And I just don't think that it worked well online. I don't think many events work particularly well online. I think we all just miss that human interaction and that opportunity to chat to people, to go out for drinks or dinner at night, etc. as well. So I'm rethinking PRFest for next year, and I'm going to take this year to I suppose take the year off from doing it. I'd rather deliver something that's of value to people than something that's not necessarily hitting the mark. Or there's a lot of events out there now that have taken the same format. There's a lot of PR and communication initiatives that have followed a lot of what PRFest has done and has helped set up. So yeah, time to take stock, I think. I'm sure you'll agree that that's not a bad thing at all. Learnings this year or over the last few months have been around, I suppose, this sort of idea that line managers within organizations are we assume that they know what their responsibilities are, and we assume that they're doing certain things. But you know what they say about assuming, it makes an ass out of you and me. And I really feel like line managers are what I call the gateway to the people on the ground, to the people that are carrying out everyday work, whether it's part-time, full-time, or contractors. And line managers are a huge part of organizational communication and engagement. And it really needs, they need engaged on a regular basis and with all the information, because at the end of the day, leaders are asking people, on a wider basis and all staff emails to go and do this, that, or the next thing, but go and speak to your line manager if you don't know, or annual reviews are coming up, please complete your annual review by a certain date. That all works with line managers, and line managers are there to make sure that the reviews happen, they make sure that team meetings happen and the information is flowing. But if you are a line manager and you don't know about internal communication, for example, and there's not a great internal communication function within the organization, then it's very difficult to be able to continue to share information and ensure that that information has sunk in and has an impact in some way, shape, or form, if you don't know, all the ins and outs of internal communication and how things work. Now, I'm not meaning in terms of, skills and experience. I'm meaning that, the internal communication function is liaising with you and is speaking to you and is working alongside the likes of the human resources department to work together, essentially, to make sure that everyone feels informed, that everyone feels valued, and that there is two-way communication. So some work that I've been doing recently has kind of opened my eyes to the fact that some organizations still don't understand the massive power of line managers and how effective communication is essential to engage the entire workforce. Some other things that I've kind of found really interesting have been the lack of joining up of dots, whether it's projects or people or finances and budgets. The lack of joining up of dots across organizations who are carrying out different projects, say, for example, digital transformation or, different processes which have been rethought because of the pandemic. Looking at hybrid working because you're working from home and you're also expected to work sometimes in the office. There's very little opportunity other than the internal communication function, which should have that 360-degree view and access to the leadership teams who should be or can be joining up those dots. But it also means that the people who are in charge of different teams and different departments should be speaking to each other more regularly about what they're working on, so that they can collaborate more effectively and so that there are efficiencies in time, resource, and in budget. And that is not happening. And I don't think that is uncommon in the few scenarios that I have experienced in recent months. So joining up of dots, I always talk about, I am a joiner up of dots. I always see these opportunities and think, why are people not doing that? And sometimes it just takes that, internal communication function, or that person that's looking after public relations and communication, or a consultant like me who actually has the opportunity to independently spot them because they're not so involved and they're not so knee deep in the minutiae detail. But also what I think has been fascinating about spotting these opportunities to join up dots has been that, yes, I've been able to spot efficiencies and savings, but I've also been able to use my sort of integrated approach for communication to actually further add value to what these projects are trying to achieve and bring it all back to organizational purpose, make sure it's inclusive, make sure that there's been consultations with the right people before agreements have been made. And basically, it feels very satisfying to be able to go away and do that, because that's something I've practiced to hone these skills for 20 plus years. And to be able to go into organizations and do that and to make such great impacts has been a privilege. It's absolutely what I love doing. But for our industry and for the purposes of sharing learnings and overcoming challenges, I think there are a number of things, and I'm not going to go into what does 2022 challenges look like, because do you know what? We have gone through 2 years of lockdowns, which has been obviously through COVID. We're at a stage just now where COVID is peaking again, because of the Omicron variant that is highly transmissible. We have governments nationally which are not agreeing with the UK government and want to do their own thing. We have a situation where Brexit has been tried to be, I think, swept under the carpet because we knew that Brexit was happening. Brexit happened, but now what? We're now seeing impacts of not being part of that European Union. In fact, probably across every industry and every size of business, even down to the SMEs who are, small craft businesses who are finding it challenging to post and to mail some of their orders out. But also now we have a humanitarian issue with Ukraine, with a war that's happening that we do not know where it's going or how long it's going to take. And people are worried, people are trying to help financially with other items or essential items to help people that are fleeing. And now we have new visa holders coming from Ukraine to the UK to stay with us on a sort of temporary basis, I believe, who need assistance. But not only that, we are now facing in the United Kingdom massive prices being hiked up in fuel, which is leading to fuel poverty. And I even heard the other day about instances where people are going to food banks because they can't afford to go food shopping because food prices have gone up so much as well. And I partly believe that's to do with Brexit, because we import quite a lot of our seasonal produce. But food prices affect so much that people are going to food banks and they're actually refusing some food items or some items from the shelves because people can't afford to heat the food up. I mean, if that doesn't make you just want to cry, I don't know what will. So we're in a situation where, look at all the 2022 PR trends, really PR trends for 2022. We're in a situation just now where it's survival mode. We're trying to help each other. We're trying to be kind. We're trying to be humans. And that brings me on to another point in a minute. But yeah, we're in a situation where we don't know what's going to happen. I think we just need to stick together. We just need to, do what we can. We need to ask for help and not be too proud of asking for help. But equally, if you can help other people in different ways, then do it, because just now we're seeing very, very strange times and impact from a lot of different things in the last couple of years. But the thing I was going to come on to there was, people are stressed. People's mental health will be suffering. People will have anxiety for all sorts of different reasons, as we have done for the last couple of years in our industry, even more so because of the stresses that our jobs bring. But please, can I remind you just to be nice, be kind to people. I'm not saying go out of your way to do the pleasantries, when something's gone wrong, but in a situation where someone in the team may have done something, or you may have had a fallout because of a certain thing that happened with a client, or whatever it might be, please take a step back and think about the whole situation, think about that in relation to what's happening in the world, and then think about what will happen if you go and either speak to that person, email that person, or text that person. Think about what you're saying and what your reaction is like and what effect that will have on other people. Because right now, anything can set anybody off. We know that, but we just have to put things into perspective. And perspective, easier said than done. But I think the best advice I can give, I've said it already and I'll say it again, take a step back, take a few minutes to breathe, go for a walk first. But just don't jump down somebody's throat. You don't know the impact that's going to have on people. And finally, just another point, I was writing some words for a chief executive, which was a highlight a couple of weeks ago when the chief executive wrote back and said, you've managed to get inside my brain and write all these things down before I even know what I'm going to say. You're doing it so well. And I was so chuffed, because that's like the PR person's dream, to be able to predict and to do that and to speak in their voice. But he came back to me on a point that I'd included in something that was going out to his team, his community, to say that he'd removed it from the words. And it basically, what I'd included was a little piece on telling the team to remember to look after themselves by going for a walk, or for spending time with their family, or booking that holiday that they need to take. And he'd taken that out, and I went back and challenged the CEO and said, I get why you would want to take it out, but you need to understand that people, especially in junior positions, need or think they need permission and validation to be able to do that. So even just you saying, remember to do it, is giving them permission. And that is so important, because I really value my lunchtime walks. I really value my outdoor space and my nature, because it really gets my head cleared and takes me down to a sort of place of calm. But if you are in a situation where you don't believe, maybe you're working from home and you don't believe you can step away from Teams because it shows that you're not there, or whatever the situation, people get stressed out about things like that, and they need to be given permission to go away and do what they need to calm down, or check themselves, or just spend time with their family to have a better work-life balance. So please just remember, when you're dealing with your teams, or if you're advising clients or whatever, just remember to give them permission to take some time out and to get back to that sort of place of calm, because it really does mean a lot. And the CEO came back to me after reading my email and said, you're right. What about if we phrase it like this? And I said, perfect, that's going in the next time then. So it does mean a lot when you can challenge someone and have that conversation, and they respect why you're saying and suggesting to say something. But it also means something when you can go back and say, and you agree on how that should be approached as well. And that comes just with building relationships with people, and with time, and with confidence in what you're saying, and a rational reason for kind of saying it in the first place. So that's me. I have been rambling on in this update podcast, which is probably long overdue, as I say. I've really missed doing them, actually. But thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode. I promise I will not leave it so long next time. And it would be really good, actually, for me to sit and plan just maybe a guest every 2 months, but also to do maybe more of these types of podcasts where I'm sharing some learnings and some challenges that I've faced over the last couple of months. So if that's okay with you, I will continue to do that. If you haven't subscribed already, please do hit subscribe, because it will come straight into your podcast feed the next time one becomes available. Also, if you've enjoyed this, or if you haven't, or you've got feedback, please leave me a review, because it's great to read feedback, and it's not often you get feedback, even though you continue to ask for it. So it'd be great to get some feedback from you. Leave those stars and a review for me. Until next time, stay safe, take some time out. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you all in hopefully just a few weeks' time. Thanks, and speak to you soon.